On my last episode, I shared some personal tips that I found to help improve your own cake making skills, as well as recommending some ingredients that could help to create a better outcome. But are we really conscious about our environmental footprint when it comes to buying baking supplies? One of the most prevalent issues we face today is the climate crisis. The threat of global warming to our planet is immense, and without action, we could potentially drive the Earth to a point where the repercussions of irresponsible human activity would be irreversible. Scientists estimate that this could happen within the next 12 years. A significant cause for rising sea levels, atmospheric pollution, and drastically increasing temperatures is deforestation. When trees are cut down, the carbon dioxide stored inside is released into the atmosphere all at once. Vegetation is often burned to clear land, and this is particularly harmful, as even more smoke and gas is polluting the air. You may be wondering, what does deforestation have to do with baking? Well, each action carried out by every person has an impact on our environment, whether it be positive or negative. And when we bake, we often may be using ingredients that are damaging our planet without us realizing. Food produce obviously has an impact on the ecosystem. It's a reason why so many people choose to go vegetarian or vegan. But we generally don't realize that food other than meat and animal produce can also be incredibly damaging to our planet. Palm oil is a large contributor to the damage we are tackling today. It can be found in the majority of cosmetics and food everywhere, and it's estimated that more than half of the world's population uses palm oil in food, which includes baked goods. Recipes often call for some kind of spread, whether it be margarine, peanut butter, or chocolate, and these products almost always contain an amount of palm oil in them. And by not being aware of the sourcing of our ingredients, we could be inadvertently supporting the degrading of natural resources. Oil palm trees grow only in tropical areas 10 degrees north and south of the equator. This is an area that houses vast spaces of rich and biodiverse rainforests across Asia, Africa, and South America. It's considered to be the most efficient vegetable oil, as it produces 4 to 10 times more oil per unit of land than others, and also requires much less fertilizer and pesticide. Palm oil makes up 35% of all vegetable oils used, but it's only grown on 10% of the land taken up by all oil crops. There are currently 44 countries producing palm oil, with Malaysia and Indonesia being accountable for 85% of worldwide production. But how does palm oil contribute to deforestation? The increasing demand for more produce alongside unsustainable farming methods have taken a toll on the ecological and environmental systems in many countries. Production of palm oil has contributed to 47% of total deforestation across Indonesia since the year 2000. And as a result of this, several species of animals, particularly orangutan, have become critically endangered as their habitats are being severely destroyed. The impact of deforestation in the area has also significantly contributed to global CO2 emissions. In 2010 alone, the palm oil plantations in Kalimantan, Indonesia, released more than 140 metric tons of carbon dioxide, which is equivalent to the annual carbon emissions from 30 million cars. Rainforests themselves act as a natural carbon storage method, not only because of the dense vegetation, but the land on which they grow, peat soil, absorbs huge amounts of excess gas. Materials that fall to the forest floor don't decompose. Instead, they accumulate, which eventually creates natural carbon dioxide sinks. When vegetation is destroyed, much of the underground trapped gas is also released into the air. And if all the peat-stored carbon in the world were to be released into the atmosphere, it would be equivalent to 9 years' worth of global carbon dioxide emissions. Due to the degradation of the rainforests in Southeast Asia, palm oil producers have turned their attention to South America, and it is again an ongoing concern as to how ethically and sustainably production is happening in the continent. An investigation into the Peruvian rainforest in April 2015 reported that 11,754 hectares of vegetation had been cleared to make way for oil. It's also worrying that producers could be carrying out unethical practices, such as using underpaid labour, employing young children, and degrading forests without any authorization. Awareness regarding the loss of wildlife and deforestation for oil palm production is growing, and there's a huge amount of pressure on retailers to stop using palm oil altogether and boycott it. But is this a move in the right direction? Statistics have shown that some production methods are seriously damaging. However, boycotting palm oil could actually make matters far, far worse for the ecosystem. Completely eradicating palm oil from the market wouldn't completely eradicate the global demand for a product. It would instead create a demand for an alternative that may have much more negative environmental impact than palm oil. Palm oil has the highest yield of all vegetable oils, and if it no longer existed, it would be replaced by something such as soybean, an effective but much less productive crop. This could actually move production further into the Amazon, as this is a major soy-producing region, and due to its lower yield, as well as the increasing global demand for more vegetable oils, it would also lead to far more deforestation, as more space would be required for less produce. In fact, soybean production is actually responsible for around double the deforestation that palm oil is, and deforestation for livestock production counts to 5 times that, which shows that change across many concerning industries must be carried out in order to protect and conserve the rainforests. So, if so many products contain palm oil, which could be from unsustainable sources, and boycotting it would only make matters worse, how can we prevent further damage from taking place? Well, this is where the idea of certification comes in. The Roundtable on Sustainable Palm Oil, also known as the RSPO, is a non-profit organisation committed to ensuring palm oil production and sourcing is ethically and environmentally conscious. They certify companies, plantations and brands involved in the production and use of palm oil, guaranteeing that this produce is not harming the working community or the surrounding rainforest. Certified and Sustainable Palm Oil, or CSPO, has to meet these following requirements: fair working conditions, protected land and rights for locals, no clearing of primary forests, wildlife on palm oil plantations are protected, reduced greenhouse gas emissions, and minimal industrial pollution. So far, the RSPO has certified 4.29 million hectares of plantation land, with a total of 15.65 million tonnes of certified palm oil. But this accounts for only 20% of global production. There is still far to go. But it's not all bad. The production of palm oil has actually had many social benefits. In Colombia alone, an estimated 140,000 direct and indirect jobs have been created because of palm oil production. This has provided thousands of locals with a steady income as employment opportunities have increased. And the same goes for Ecuador, where palm oil production has also opened up a vast number of employment opportunities. In fact, Ecuador has actually introduced many programs and initiatives to convert the agricultural sector into more sustainable practice, and not only for the conservation of natural resources, but to gain social relevance across the globe and to support fair labour and human rights. So, if oil palm is developing employment opportunities in South American countries, once again indicating that boycott is not the answer, what are organisations like the RSPO suggesting to develop sustainability in palm oil production as well? Well, to begin the path to ethical and eco-friendly production, a potential solution could be better ecological planning. Due to other agricultural practices, South America already has millions of hectares of existing deforested land, a lot of which is lying idle. As this land is already degraded, it doesn't have much ecological value. Therefore, creating palm oil plantations in these spaces would not have the same negative consequences that clearing rainforest does. This seems like an obvious solution, but because this land has been lying unused for so many years, much of it's been appropriated by other people. Companies would have to negotiate with these people in order to repurpose the land, which many may not want to do, ultimately making the option of clearing the rainforest much faster and cheaper. And unfortunately, this will most probably remain until more policies are introduced by the producing countries to protect resources and motivate production on existing land. But there is another potential solution. To reduce deforestation and large-scale destruction, a viable option would be to have more small-scale farmers producing and managing palm oil. Smaller farming businesses tend to grow in mosaic-like patterns, rather than in huge rows like large farming companies do. This not only saves a lot of space, it actually preserves some of the original environment and increases agrobiodiversity. Honduras, Ecuador, and Costa Rica are dominated with small-scale projects, with 87%, 95%, and 98% of production taking place on less than 50 hectares of land, respectively. Ecuador is encouraging this method of small-scale production and have government programs in place to financially support smallholdings if necessary. However, just because these countries have been successful in developing this method of sustainable farming, it doesn't mean that it comes without challenges. To start a plantation from scratch, especially for smaller farmers, requires a large investment without much return for the first few years. And due to the cheap and fast methods large producers use, they also have a higher productivity. Guatemala, with its immense palm oil plantations, has the highest productivity in the continent, producing 3 tons of oil per acre annually. Ecuador, with its smallholder farms, produces only 1 ton per acre in comparison. Unfortunately, many countries also have reverse developments on the way, as plans to expand industrial palm oil spaces are being made, which will have a significant toll on the rainforest. This isn't to say that encouraging small holdings is a bad option. It's already been successful in many places, but it just shows that in order to reach the goal of maximum sustainability, different solutions and options must be implemented in different places according to the targets they need to meet. So this raises the question, if certified palm oil is already being produced, why isn't there more of it on the market today? Well, there are challenges to promote sustainably produced palm oil. As long as the argument remains on boycott, it won't be possible for retailers and producers to increase RSPO certification. Many brands, such as Ferrero, Nestle, Unilever and L'Oreal, as well as UK supermarket chains like Marks & Spencer's, Waitrose and Sainsbury's, are already using certified palm oil in their products, but they can't advertise this due to persistent negativity towards any type of palm oil. Selling and creating sustainable palm oil is challenging because it's become such a taboo ingredient. Companies are hesitant to advertise that they use palm oil, even if it's completely sustainable, due to so many people having a negative mindset around it. Campaigns to boycott palm oil removes incentives for brands to be more transparent about their sources and to improve their own production practices. And if more consumers don't demand more certified palm oil, the RSPO won't have enough funding to reach their goals of certification, which means less productive vegetable oils will be produced instead, to avoid the negativity around the word palm, which could eventually contribute to even more deforestation. Major conservation organizations, including orangutan charities, the WWF and Greenpeace, have supported the move towards a certified palm oil, as the realistic solution is not boycott. The RSPO has stated that they continuously monitor certified producers and regularly review their certification criteria in order to meet global concerns and demands. But many people have criticized them for not working fast enough. But due to the argument still being focused on boycott, they aren't receiving enough funding or resources to make a swift change. People also criticize that some certified companies themselves still have a long way to go before they as a brand achieve complete sustainability. However, what these people against certification don't do is offer any solutions to the issue, and many have supported the idea of boycotting produce without addressing the severe concerns that alternatives, such as soybean, might raise. If we want to move forward, larger companies and government policies must have an input into creating sustainably produced palm oil, as they have a much larger environmental impact than we do as individual consumers, as well as a much larger public reach. With any product, whether it be palm oil or plastic, it's not feasible to entirely eliminate it without an equally performing alternative, something that we currently do not have, and it's not attainable for anything to become completely sustainable unless it has consumer backing. The only other option to not supporting CSPO is to boycott palm oil, which would only lead to other produce potentially creating more damage, or to continue buying regular palm oil, which would continue to destroy natural resources. Oil palm itself is not a bad thing. It's been dubbed the miracle crop by many because of the opportunities it's provided for social and economic development. Nevertheless, unsustainable palm oil production is most certainly damaging the world's natural resources, and without action or awareness, more destruction is definite. Introducing individual strategies suited to different areas, implementing more policies to protect forestry, as well as certifying more producers and brands will be notable moves towards becoming more sustainable. And as consumers, we should be wary of what we're buying and raise more awareness about the issue in order for these steps towards tackling the climate crisis to be successful. If you're interested in finding out more about the controversial topic of palm oil, I've listed some useful sites for further reading, as well as some of the sources I used myself in the episode notes below. I hope that listening to this has encouraged you to be more conscious of how the food you buy affects the planet, and the next time you shop, you stop to check whether some of your beloved food items are encouraging sustainable practice or not.